Okay, good morning. Al Ingalls here at pressure-free.com, alingalls.com. And I want to just set up something here real quick. We still have people coming in, and I had a little technical difficulty this morning. So bear with me as I start to create this for you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Elle Ingalls. I'm the creator of the Pressure Free Method. I'm the author of this little book too, called Pressure Free Parenting. And today's deep dive is going deeply on the stressors of parenthood, the stressors of being a parent, the secondhand stress that we can often feel when we're caring for others, whether that's a significant other, whether it's a child, whether it's your parents, or maybe you're in that squeeze generation where you're caring for your parents and your children, and even pets, because our pets can cause us a lot of stress in different ways, especially if they become ill. If you've got a big vet bill, there's just all kinds of unexpected things that can happen when we're caring for other people. And I want to just bring up the picture here for a moment. Let me share my screen with you, because I used a picture that I think is really instructive. I'm just going to pull it off my Canva. I think that's the fastest way to get it for you. Let's see. I put a picture on the little graphic that I used today, and I want to really go deeply in on this picture because I love this picture of me with my two older sons, but at the same time, I see so much pain. I see so much of what I was going through as a mom at that time, what my kids were going through, and I want to use this picture to go into some of the things that can really cause us to feel that we can't handle it, that we don't have what it takes to be able to support everybody that we have in our lives. And maybe you feel this. So I'm going to start first with the kids. So the little one is my middle son, Ned. And notice he's wringing his hands. This is the first day of school. I think it is first grade for Ned and third grade for Hugh, I think. Or it could be kindergarten, second grade. I can't even remember. The thing is 1999, though. I'm pretty sure of that because it's a little pin on my blazer. But looking at him, he obviously doesn't want to go. He's wringing his hands and his brow is tight and he's not smiling for the first day of school picture. He really is not too interested in going. And yet we're going, this is happening. So do you have times when your kids don't want to go to school? It can be such a struggle in the morning if you have a child who maybe they have a stomach ache every morning. Maybe they really don't want to go. And like you'll take them to the physician. They'll say, well, there's nothing really wrong here. It's psychosomatic. Well, there is something wrong. And I'm going to give you, as we move through here, I'm going to give you some help today. But I really want to dive into looking at this for a moment. So he obviously doesn't really want to go. Now, my older son in this picture, Hugh, he's our eldest. Normally, like Hugh is just a very exuberant, fun person. Like he's got a smile on his face a ton. He's just so, he loves life. He embraces life. And this smile, what I see here is that he had been at a K through 12 school that was a small elementary school, but attached to an entire school. And he absolutely loved it. The big boys were always like slapping him on the back. Hey, Hugh, slapping him 5 in the hall. He was in kindergarten and he felt so attached to the entire school. And then the schools merged, the elementary school merged with a larger elementary school, and we had to take our kids across town. So it's a big change for our family. And I think what I see here with him is like that change. So when we go through change and the changes that you've been going through as a parent right now, I just can't even imagine. Are they in school? Are they not in school? I've been coaching some families where that whole disruption all the time is just causing such anxiety and even depression in students, because they don't know what to expect next. And they don't know if somebody gets ill, if they go into quarantine, like all the things that are unexpected today. And so Hugh represents for me like this change that is so constant today for parents, and how much havoc that wreaks on us, because children need a lot of structure. We need a lot of structure to perform well in the things that we're trying to do in life. All right, now let's get to me. I want to just, can I blow this up? I guess I can't blow it up. So I know it's 1999 because this little pin on my lapel tells me that we had just had the 100th anniversary of the Battle Creek Symphony. So I was the executive director of the Battle Creek Symphony. And my husband was our marketing director. He and I founded a music school in 96. So a few years before this point, we had founded a brand new entity that we wrapped under the auspices of the symphony. So we'd grown our staff, and we'd grown really quite precipitously. And during this time period, I was also under the guidance of the Kellogg Foundation. For those of you who know Kellogg's and Kellogg Foundation, one of the largest foundations in the world, they usually typically don't give to the arts. But I was putting together a merger of nonprofit music groups to create a music center. My husband and I were spearheading this. So it was a lot of work, at the same time trying to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the largest or the oldest symphony in Michigan, 11th oldest in the country. So a lot of history. And we had it was an amazing year. We had some sellout concerts. I mean, it was really fun, but at the same time, it was a ton of work. At the same time, doing these weekly meetings to try to create this merger and manage these grants. And it was a tough year. And what you can't see in this picture, I have a blazer on, it's black, it's kind of blending into the background, but I was extremely thin. I was too thin. What had happened was in December this is like what, August? So back up to December before this picture. I'm gonna come off, well, no, I'm gonna keep me on there for a moment. I usually weighed for most of my adult life, except when I was pregnant, I was like 138 to 142, like right in there, hovering always in there. And I'm 5'9", so that's a good weight for me. One of the kids got sick, and then like the whole family started getting sick in December. And it was something that everybody in town had, apparently, because I got it too. And that was typical. I would catch anything that came my way, but I would power through. Is this you? Like, you power through, even though you're not feeling well. And I was trying to take care of myself. I was eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, broths, like trying to get well. And I was also doing something else. I had dived deeply into meditation. I'm sharing this because meditation is not for everyone. It works really well for some people. And if you do experiment with it, I encourage you to get a guide, someone who's very well versed in it. Because I was meditating a lot during this time, morning and night for like 20 minutes or more. And I wasn't grounding myself. So I got very ill, and I called my physician, and they said, oh, everybody has this, don't come in, tell me how to take care of myself. Well, weeks went by and I was still ill. And so finally I called and said, I'm coming in, like I can't seem to shake this. I don't want to cry here, but when I went into that office, they put you on the scale. I weighed 117 pounds, which is a weight I hadn't weighed since pre-puberty, like 7th, 8th grade. And when I saw that number and then they put me in the room, I'm alone in that room, and I just lost it. I just started crying. And when the tears kind of, I stop, it takes them a while to come into the room, I'm waiting for the physician. I look up, and on the wall is the Desiderata poem. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was a poem. And I just sat there and I read that poem, and I'm like, I have got to get out of this, right? And this is going to sound crazy, but I honestly felt like I was getting lighter and lighter. And I'm sharing this because I have clients who've said the same thing. I think there are a lot more people, especially women, feeling this way than we know. I almost felt like I was disappearing and that I was getting lighter and lighter because I was just going to be gone. And I had these two beautiful boys. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is going on? I can't get physically well. And that was playing this mental game with me. So if you're experiencing physical illness, it can play this really serious mental game with you. So I told you I was going to deep dive. So that's what I see here. I see, like, you can't see how thin I am. You can't see that there was eczema all over my hands, which is a disease I had had since I was 13. And if you looked really closely, like, I don't have any makeup on in this picture. I didn't wear makeup hardly at all for many, many years. I come on camera now, so I put a little on, but I had no makeup on. And if you look really closely, you'll see little bits of stress acne on my cheeks. Sometimes it would really flare up, like rosacea, like really red cheeks. So I had the eczema hands, this here. I'm so underweight, it's scary. In fact, board members of mine for the symphony, some of them were really afraid of what was going down for me. Like, this is scary. And then just before this picture was taken, we find out that I'm pregnant with our third baby, who's going to come on here a little bit later today and talk with you about pressure free and how it changed our lives. But in this picture here, we are not pressure free. And if I could go back in time and wave a magic wand over these people and my husband and the baby inside of me and give them the wisdom that I have now, this picture would have looked very, very, very different. It would be so different. And the lives we would have led up to 2010, which is when I created Pressure Free, would have been very, very different. So let me stop the share and come out on camera with you. So, wow, I made it through and I didn't cry, which is amazing. So I'm sharing that because I work with clients who hide all that. They don't let people know that they're a bit in crisis, because as high achievers, we think we can figure out the way. Like, of course we can. We're so smart. We should be able to figure this out. We should be able to, get ourselves well. That's what I kept thinking. I can get myself well. It really wasn't until I got pregnant. It was like permission to eat for two. And the little restaurants downtown in Battle Creek, there were two of them that served marvelous breakfasts. And they would know about 10:30 every morning. I would leave my office and they would start making my order before I walked in the door. It was amazing. For those of you watching who are from Battle Creek, it was the Weather Vane, which is now the Griffin, and Shranks. Rita would see me coming and she's like, start the order, because I didn't have much time. It's working, So that's another thing, is time. Back then, I look at those pictures and I think, oh my gosh, we were being the best parents we could be. But again, if I could have waved a magic wand, I spent so much time at home worrying about work. The board meeting tomorrow, the concert coming up, we've got more hires to do, whatever the thing was. Maybe there's a crisis going on with a soloist, or, just thinking about work, planning, thinking, and then creating the school and all the things we're doing. And then at work, worrying about the kids. Is everything okay? Is everybody going to be all right? And I know from the moment you bring another person into the world, you give birth or you adopt a pet, you bring someone into your household, a living being, then there's so much else that layers on for you. It's funny, I want to talk about pets for a moment, because some of you might not have children, but you have pets. And before Pressure Free, we always had dogs. We had a lot of pets, tons of pets of all different kinds for the kids. but our dogs, we always had a dog until now, which is a little hard for us, but we always had a dog. And we had two dogs when I was creating Pressure Free. And when someone would come to the door, they would like bark, 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 roof, 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 come up to the door. And our big black dog would often scare people. She was so big, and little Carrie, the smaller little golden dog, but they would always like get, anything come to the door, they'd kind of go crazy. And as we, as a family, started to become more and more pressure free and not overreacting when the doorbell rang, like doorbell rings, you get all, oh, who's at the door? We actually trigger the stress response sometimes just because someone's at the door. It could just be the UPS guy, right? Or the mail is coming or whatever it is. So our overreaction affects our pets and our children. How we react significantly affects them. So I'll never forget, and it's kind of a gradual thing. When you learn the pressure-free method and you start practicing it, it's just like anything. You need to get your 10,000 hours in practicing this way of being. And then suddenly there's these shifts, and people use like, oh, big up level here. And then oh, here's another one, because you get a big insight into your stressors and the things that are going on. So we're using it as a family and just practicing and learning and failing and practicing and learning. And, and I had a client come for their session, walks in, and she goes, I can't believe your dogs. They're so pressure free. Both of the dogs, it was wintertime, and they were flopped in front of the fireplace. We had one of these beautiful wood burning fireplace things. They're just flopped in front of the fireplace, right? And she goes, they're so pressure free. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they didn't used to be. But I was different. The doorbell rang and I didn't go nuts. So now my dogs didn't go nuts. This is the same with your kids. So if you can take a look at how you're reacting to things, it can make a huge difference for your pets. If your pets, when you overreact because of a doorbell, your pet wants to protect you. They have that instinct to protect you. So they go into fight or flight to protect you. They spill a whole bunch of adrenaline to go nuts, right? It's so interesting. So let's get back to some of the stressors that I see. And I want to teach you some tools this morning. So some of the problems I see right now really happening is that parents are so worried about what's happened over the last 2 years and how that's affecting their children, to the point where that worry is causing so much of a stress hormone release. And the kids feel that my parents are worried about me. So when one person starts worrying in a family, it's like, it's a snowball effect. It affects every person in the family. I've watched it happen in our own family over and over. And so what I've seen since Pressure Free is that when there's a worry, when something goes down that's hard for one of our family members, there's so much of a love that opens up instead of the tightness. And that's something you can watch. Is your body getting tight, or are you open? Tightness and openness can be a sign that you're overreacting. In the tightness, that tightness is going to affect every member of your family. And if you're the female in the home, it's typical, but again, there's aberrations and everyone's different. But there tends to be one of the parents whose emotional tenor really sets the stage for everybody in the house. So if you use the word busy, like I'm in a hurry, I'm busy, and adrenaline fueled busy, then that's affecting every member of your family, and you probably see it. So let's go a little deeper and really look at your children for a moment, or your pets. Are your pets anxious? Do they have problems with their fur? Things like that. So you can take a real close look at the health. It's going to reflect what's happening here. So do your children have eczema? I'm going to get really vulnerable here. I'm going to go to myself because I know this probably worried my mother very, very much. Good morning, Judy. Nice to see you
Morning.
join us here.
Thank you. Oh,
I'm going to go speaker mode here, and hopefully I'm going to come up big on the screen. I'm not sure why not. I'm not sure what people are seeing, but
I'm seeing you're about the same size as me.
okay. Would you mind going off camera for a moment, Judy?
No problem.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm going to try to go gallery and see what happens. Where was I? Oh, I'm taking you back to when I was in second grade. When I was in second grade, I had a really serious, I don't know why my screen is going weird here. I had a really serious, some really serious issues going down. I would scratch at my forehead here so hard that I had bleeding and scabs. I had really, really, really long hair, and my mother would do my hair every morning. She would usually bring this back like this, and there were braids and there were like all kinds of stuff. And so like when I would come home, little pieces of hair would be out because I would have been scratching here. I also started getting headaches, like really bad headaches. And the doctor couldn't find anything wrong. So they took me to the eye doctor. I was farsighted. I really didn't have any issues seeing. So they're like, it's not that. And the eye doctor said, I think it's the weight of her hair. Her hair is so heavy and it was super long. And so my mother decided right before my birthday that summer that she would cut my hair, and she chopped it all off into a little pixie. And I cried for days. It was very, very traumatic because I really loved having long hair. And so I'm sharing this story because you can see things in your children that will give you signs that something's going on in here. This scratching was a sign to my mom that I was under stress. I'm going here for some reason. It was compulsive, but actually hurting myself. And that's scary. So look at really observe your children, because you know what? We don't take time to even look at them fully. We're so busy. We're like the cruise director trying to make sure everybody's everywhere where they're supposed to be and everything's on time and all of this, but we don't actually take the time to really even look at our children until the problems get so bad. And then that's scary. So really take some time to look at your children, to observe your children and see what's happening with them so that, good morning, Joanna, so that you can really notice if they need some help. And it usually starts with you. If you can start to control your emotional responses, that's going to make a huge difference in your ability, in their ability to know that they can trust how you're going to react to things. Does that make sense? And that's what I didn't know before 2010. I didn't know the importance of me controlling my reactions to things. And that's because most of us are on autopilot. We don't just have our own reactions, we've inherited reactions over time. If your parents got upset when the milk spilled or something dropped in the kitchen and they overreacted, you probably do that too. It's just built into us that we imitate what we saw. If people got upset when people weren't on time in your home growing up, then you probably get upset when people aren't on time. Or you do the opposite, you fight it, you rebel it. We either imitate it or we rebel against it. And your kids are doing the same thing. Probably in your home, you have people who are always on time or even before, early. And then there's at least one person, maybe more, who run a little later. And that's a push-pull probably every single day. So before my son is going to join us this morning just to share a little bit, but I'm going to share something here that I'm sure almost every morning to wake up my kids, I went like this: hurry up, we're going to be late. like every morning, trying to get everybody in the car's scraped, you know, and everybody in the car, because it's winter here and our garage is full of crap, so we can't pull the car in. So we gotta scrape the car and get the snow off. You know, all the things that have to happen just to get everybody to school. I don't think we were ever late as a family, to be honest. And yet every morning I would say it. Are you saying it? If your child is like age 7 or more, I wouldn't even say age 5. Are you still telling them to brush their teeth? Kids know what to do, but we will continually say what to do and control in interesting ways. So my son William is going to be joining us here. I've asked him to come on, and I hope he comes on camera. So he is a student at Columbia University in New York, and he was the baby that was inside me in that first picture that I shared with you today. And oh, he's outside having a run or something. Good morning, William.
Good morning. Thanks for the invite.
Yes. Thanks for coming on. I wanted to prove that a baby really was born, because I started this showing a picture of Hugh and Ned, but not you. And so thank you, William. I wondered if you could just share for a moment, if you can go back in time and remember being 10. And, you know, what are some of the things that you saw transform in our home when you were growing up?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to go back in time, actually, memory wise. I definitely have excluded a lot of the more negative patterns from my memory. Personally, that is, I'd say most importantly is kind of this negative escalation that is mostly internal to me, but certainly like can be exacerbated by other people. Where kind of, you know, once I become angry at something that's otherwise, you know, doesn't require anger and is clearly kind of irrational, the only way to kind of justify that would be to get more angry, I think. And that's kind of, I would get satisfaction from that, where, you know, obviously nothing else will provide satisfaction because it's not a fun state to be in. But there are very few kind of opportunities to get out, to break that positive feedback loop of like, oh, I'm so angry because I'm angry, and like it makes sense that way. And I honestly, I don't know how much can be done in those moments by other people, because it's like any sort of questioning of like why I'm angry is just going to drive me deeper. I think often I just would probably need space to reach those conclusions on my own, and to see like, because that's when you know that you're starting to come down, is that you're like, okay, why am I doing this? Kind of taking a step back and appreciating like the original cause of your anger, and then coming to grips with like what you really need to do to figure out whatever the issue was. So so at that point, being able to catch myself more and not necessarily be like stronger when it comes to like the initial stressors, but having the awareness to stop it as quickly as possible, you know.
So a couple things you brought up. First of all, the memory. I think it's really interesting that William was 10 when I created the method, and you don't have as clear memories as after 10. Like after age 10, your memory is unbelievable. Like you remember things that our family goes, oh yeah, right, because William is the one that stores it all and has it all. But prior to age 10, when we were very dysregulated, like we were not pressure free at all, you don't have very many memories, which I think is fascinating, because we had some really great family trips. We did a lot of great things, but if you're in fight or flight, you can't store memories very well. And that's incredible. It's like you want your children to have these great memories of growing up, but if your family's constantly in fight or flight, the memories are going to be weird too. They're kind of corrupted. And I saw that big time with you. And the anger was huge. Like it was scary to me. I was almost ready to take him. In fact, I talked to my friend who's a psychologist. I said, I think I need to bring William to you because the anger was scaring me. And then just through using pressure free in our home, and honestly, William, I get so emotional this morning. It was me, like I was your major trigger. And I'm bringing that forward because moms are major triggers for a lot of their sons. And I recognize it now. I admit it, I see it. And so when I started not overreacting to things, you could be okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely, because yeah, I'm trying to think of, I honestly can't remember what caused any of the anger. I only really remember the sensation.
Right.
But I do remember the distinct pattern of like resentment toward anyone around me when I was in such a state. You know, like anyone who tries to intervene more often than not are just going to become part of the problem psychologically. Even if that makes no sense, right? I mean, they're just trying to help or whatever. I think there's very few approaches when someone's in that state that can really effectively break through. They do exist, but like, I think it's most important to, you know, intervene at the start, and then after someone's cooled off a bit, and they can think for themselves a bit.
Yeah.
But in terms of, go ahead.
Go ahead.
In terms of like your own habits of reaction influencing mine, I mean, that's classic, you know, modeling. Like, of course, yeah, I will mirror you, and if I see you setting the example, as opposed to telling me how to do something,
Right.
then when I'm behaving differently, that's oh, hello, we have a little friend.
Oh, we were just talking about pets. Oh, it doesn't have a leash.
It's got a leash. It's just
Okay.
not being used.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm in Riverside right now. I'm about to go for a run, but yeah, I think it's tricky, but I definitely think, obviously, you know, what the parents are doing is going to absolutely be reflected in the child, whether the child likes it or not. I mean, I could say how much I resent my parents, you know, in those moments, but seeing them be calm will absolutely make an impression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. William's behavior, everything changed so radically, so quickly too. I mean, in a matter of weeks, from the things that did make him angry. He would get upset about his academics, small things like that. I want you to take us now. So you were 10 when this all evolved as a family and you started using pressure free just naturally. It was just the way of being. How has that helped you? I mean, you're what I would call an uber high achiever. I mean, here you are at one of the greatest universities in the world, over a 4.0, Phi Beta Kappa 2%, like all those things, like those are just markers. And I know you don't really care that much about that, but at the same time, it just shows how, honestly, what I see in you is that you're able to use so much more of your faculties than a lot of students I work with, and a lot of parents that I work with, people that I work with, because your brain is free of this stress sludge. And so I wondered if you could talk about that a little bit and what you see.
Yeah, I definitely get the sense that, I mean, I'm blessed with a great suite, and I think that a good proportion of us think similarly. But I that idea of freedom and kind of like a looseness in the brain and ability to apply it in different ways, like a lot of that is just how I construe academics in the first place. You said, you know, problems that stress me out, academics, a small thing, and it's like, exactly, that is kind of how my brain is tended to work, is like, yeah, of course it matters a lot to me, but I don't consciously think about how much it matters. Like it's not it's not on the mind. Only the tasks at hand are on the mind. And
Oh, stop. That's brilliant right there. Only the tasks at hand are on the mind. That's presence.
Yeah.
And that's what so many people lack today. That's presence. That's really powerful, William.
yeah, the amount of time I spend thinking about my ultimate grade in a class is very little. And any time that I've ever spent thinking about grades has been negative. No, it's been like a negative influence on my overall performance. I'm guessing that, early on developmentally, it's important to have those direct incentives, but I mean, we learn about in class about the process of extrinsic and intrinsic motivation and how at this point at university level, like you hopefully have these kind of internally motivated processes that will be ultimately more rewarding for you. And that's up to the educator, it's up to the parents early on to help instill those habits. But obviously I was very fortunate with you guys, but stress is another factor there, where if you are anxious about those grades, or anxious about not really knowing what you want to do, like that's going to be debilitating. And as opposed to suggesting just figure out what you want to do, like I'm just kind of not worried about it and then see where it goes. I don't think you need to have everything figured out. And I think that's one thing that drags a lot of, adolescents moving into college students, people who are making those big decisions that I would argue ultimately aren't even that big. Of course, it matters what school you go to, but you're going to make it work and you're going to find a way. And if it really isn't the right place for you, you're going to transfer, or you're going to leave school and do something else entirely. But I think the whole attitude toward higher education and kind of what one ought to do, I didn't feel much of that at all when I was going through those processes. I didn't feel really responsibility to anyone. And of course that I have you guys to thank for that. You left the option of no college on the table the whole time. And I said that I would consider it and I was thinking about it, but ultimately I definitely think this was where I was meant to be for these 4 years. But anyway, I think in some, freedom is really important. Freedom of mind and freedom of choice, because even if you mess up, you can come back from that, you can learn from it, and you can be better for it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And also creating a family space where it's okay to mess up. Because especially if you have high achievers in your family, they're going to hide it. They're going to hide the messing up sometimes. And knowing that you have a foundation and a safe place to fall if you do mess up, I think that's really important. And, it's my husband and I have 5 degrees between us. So for us to look at each one of our children and be absolutely supportive of whatever their choices were, that's huge. That's really, really huge. And I know that a lot of parents struggle with the fact that their children can't even get into their alma maters because of their grades, because of their situations. And we just hit March 15th. There are a lot of high school students reeling right now. And I remember going through this with all 3 of our sons, like where they were accepted to school, when they got those acceptance letters, when they found out if you didn't get the schools you wanted to get into, that can be so devastating. And a lot of students are struggling right now because they just found out they didn't get in. And so there's so much that high achieving students go through. I love what you said though about, it's really about the presence. You could move into presence so much faster with pressure free than if you didn't have just that mechanism to be able to use, step into that and be that. Is there anything else you'd like to share, William, before you go off on your run?
I guess on that note, just that this doesn't only apply to school, of course. Like one of the areas I've noticed the most difference, and this isn't from age 10 to now, this is from like senior year of high school to now, is in my running, and in kind of everything that goes with that. So my gut, my hydration, like every aspect of running has become a lot less stressful since I've stopped racing in the high school sense and started racing in whatever I'm doing now, which is just kind of arbitrarily chosen like marathons that are not necessary and probably not the best for my body. And yet I haven't felt an injury or any sort of pain whatsoever this entire time. And it's, maybe I'm just magically doing things right, or maybe I'm just, the fact that I'm not worried about it. I really do think that plays a role, because I remember every cross country race, I would get in my stomach. I'd go pee like 5 times before the race, worried that I wasn't going to make it through the race without peeing. And I'm running these 3-hour marathons without peeing. Like that's
Right.
it's easy too, as long as I'm not up here about it. And that's been, I think it's all about the approach. When I approach these races as someone who just wants to run and we'll see what time comes out, I end up having a lot more fun and I end up running faster. So I definitely think I wish I was, skilled enough or aware enough in high school to apply these things, because obviously I knew the method at that point,
Right.
but I hadn't quite overcome these nerves and this excitement. That's another thing, is like, you're going to feel excitement before a race either way, but there's definitely a limit to how much it's useful and how much
Yes.
it's helpful. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's that tipping point where if you go into fight or flight from overexcitement, then you do have to go pee again.
yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the pee thing is real. I was just working with a speaker who he said, yeah, but I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I go, well, do you have to pee a lot? And he does.
Yeah.
That's a sign that you've triggered fight
Yep.
or flight too much. So, and it is remarkable how I've watched this transition for you of running marathons, running lots of marathons, like month after month after month, and your body is fine. Like, I'm amazed. And so not triggering the stress response allows so much physically and mentally. I'm glad you brought it forward, because we talked a lot about the brain, but your body can work so much more when you're really not flooding it with these hormones. And so that's also a testament that you're doing it in your academic sphere, because otherwise your body be breaking down. I see that with students that, their bodies are breaking down because here is just what they're trying to do is so difficult. Well, William, thank you so much for coming on. I want to bring up this picture one more time to close out today, and just talk briefly about the other 2 sons, because William brought up a really great point that we didn't, we wanted the best for our children. Of course, you want the best for your children. You want the right fit. So when that transition from high school to college, Hugh knew where he wanted to go junior year. We went to a leadership day at Aquinas College in Grand Rapids, and he's like, this is the place. But they didn't have a hockey team, and he wanted to play college hockey. So he wrote to the president of the school and said, I want to play hockey, so I will create a team for you. And they thought he was just going to create a little beer league, men's league team for the Aquinas players to just play in. But no, he wanted a real team. And he worked so hard. He raised money. Everybody told him no. The athletic director said, no way, I don't want to pay for ice and all the insurance and all that. But it happened. And by junior year, there was an actual hockey team. And if Hugh were here, he'd say, like, he just so believed. And I want to bring that forward, because when you believe, things can start to happen for you. And I think that happens in your races, William. Like, you believe that everything's going to be fine. But we often, as parents, wake up worried. We're not in belief. We're worried. And that worry, it just compounds within the family. And then Ned, the little one here, Ned, after 2 years at his college, he left to create Ingalls Pictures with Hugh. Hugh had graduated, and Ned said, I am going to learn more if I'm actually in the field. So he was a film major, and he just left, and they started a company together that William works in. And I'm their advisory chair, and my husband works for them. So it's wild to see what can happen when you unhook from it has to be this way. And I still remember our talks, my husband and I talking about, wow, Ned's going to leave school. Does he need this degree? Well, he doesn't really need this degree to do what he needs to do. So what is best for your child? Like, really, really opening that up, I think, is really so important. And today there's just, I don't know, we think life has to be a certain way and we have to live lives in these chapters, but chapters can be more fluid. They can be more open. And there's more opportunities for that today than ever before. They say that someone William's age is going to have 2, maybe even 3 careers in his lifetime, because it's not the old pattern. It's not like how my parents grew up, where you were in the same career for 30 years. It's very different now. So William, thank you so much for being on here. I hope you have a great day running, great day at school. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me. This was a pleasure.
Okay, bye, honey.
Bye.
Bye, Judy. Have a great day. Bye, Lori. Have a great day.
Hi, Al. Thank you so much. That was insightful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love seeing the 3 of you here.
Hey.
Good to
Makes
see
me
you.
so happy. It's so amazing. So yeah, have a wonderful day. And yeah, I'm
You
so
too.
glad I'm glad William was willing to come on.
Yeah, that was great. All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.